The Caribbean cruise season is kicking off. Those cruises started right away heading into the Caribbean, and some people still have questions about the vaccine requirements and testing as well. Well, my name's Stuart. This is Ship to Shore Cruise News. Let's talk about it. So a lot of cruise companies have come out and said different things, and I'm here to go over the different cruise ship companies, the requirements, and so on. I've made a little bit of a list. I'm going to share that information with you now. We're going to go through it, and we're going to start with Royal Caribbean. So Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, as of October the 7th, 2022, Royal Caribbean recommends that passengers be vaccinated. It's not required, it's just a recommended. They do require that you provide a record, and it's recommended that you bring a record with you as well, just in case you get off at a cruise port and an official or a store or somebody wants to see a copy of that record. Are you allowed to be unvaccinated? Yes, you can be unvaccinated and still cruise with Caribbean Cruise Lines. Are masks required on Caribbean Cruise Line ships? No, they're not, but they are recommended. Now, when we're talking about unvaccinated passengers, so on any cruise that's 9 nights or less, unvaccinated passengers the ages 5 or older will need an antigen or PCR test done within 3 days of cruising. These tests can be professionally proctored or administered yourself. Now, any cruises that are 10 nights or more, all passengers, vaccinated included, will require an antigen or PCR test done within 3 days of the cruise. Move on to Carnival Cruise Lines. Do you need to be vaccinated? No, you don't. Is it recommended? Yes, they do recommend that you are vaccinated when you go on board. Will you have to provide a record? Yes, you will have to provide a record showing that you are fully vaccinated. Should you bring it with you? Well, I'm going to say with every cruise line, I would bring it with you. It's recommended, just the same as Royal Caribbean, just in case somebody asks for it somewhere along the way. As I said, you can be unvaccinated. If you're on a cruise of 15 nights or less, unvaccinated passengers aged 5 and older will need to take a test within 3 days of departure. All cruises 16 nights or more will require all guests, regardless of their vaccinated status, to have a negative test. Now, when it talks about vaccinated guests getting that test, it doesn't say anything about being medically proctored or self-tests for those cruises. As we move on to Norwegian Cruise Lines, do you have to be vaccinated? Nope, but it's recommended. Do you need to provide a record? No, you don't have to provide a record to an NCL. They don't need it. They just want you on board. Should you bring a record of your vaccination status? Yes, it's always advisable to bring a copy of that record with you, just in case the port of call you go to asks for it, or maybe you might be on shore somewhere and a store or a government official may ask you for that information. Are masks required? No, they're not, but they are recommended. And that's something you're going to find common throughout all the cruise lines. It is recommended. Are negative tests required? No, not at all. But there are some cruise ports that are going to require that you have a negative test before you get off the ship. Just a reminder, if you like this information, click the like button. If you want to see more of what I'm offering, click the subscribe. It just gives you an alert of when I've posted some new content. We'll move on to Holland America now. So, do you have to be vaccinated? No, you don't, but it is recommended that you are, and you do need to provide a record. Should you bring a record with you? I'll just have to say, and I've said it again, it's recommended that you bring a record of your vaccination status with you, just in case. Mask, do you have to wear a mask? Well, all cruise lines are saying the same thing. It's recommended that you wear a mask. It's not required, just recommended. Do you need to provide a test? Oh, excuse me. Well, if you're unvaccinated, you do need to provide a PCR or antigen test within 3 days of departure or embarkation. The antigen test can be observed or self-done within those 3 days. As we move to Celebrity Cruise Lines, Do you need to be vaccinated? No, you don't. They will take vaccinated and unvaccinated passengers as well. They do recommend that you are vaccinated. They do recommend, or they do require, you provide a copy of that vaccination status, and they recommend that you bring a copy with you. Masks, again, yes, it's recommended that you wear them. Now, people who are unvaccinated on sailings of 9 nights or less will require a self-test, antigen, or PCR test done within 3 days of embarkation. And that's for all information from U.S. ports. Any cruises of 10 nights or more will require all passengers, regardless of their vaccination status, to age 5 or older, that is, to have a negative test with them. And that'll be something that you'll need to provide when you board or beforehand. Disney Cruise Lines, well, the same thing with them. It's recommended you be vaccinated, but you don't have to be. Do you need to provide a record? Yes, you will need to provide a record of your vaccination status to Disney Cruises. Should you bring a record? Yes, you should bring a record. It's recommended that you bring it with you. And as I said, everybody's accepted on the cruise, regardless of their vaccination status. And they do recommend wearing masks. Now, do you need to provide a negative test? Well, anybody who's under the age or over the age of 12 who is unvaccinated needs to have an observed antigen, rapid, or lab-based PCR or NAAT test done. Disney will not accept self-tests done at home. Moving on to Princess Cruise Lines, same story here. It's recommended you be vaccinated, but you don't need to be to get on board. You do need to provide a record, though, if you are declaring that you are vaccinated, and it's recommended you bring that vaccination record with you. As I said, for unvaccinated passengers, yes, you are allowed. Any unvaccinated passengers who are 5 or older need to have a supervised test done within 3 days. So that could be a PCR or antigen then. It can't be a self-test. And masks on Princess Cruise Lines, they do recommend them. Now, I didn't go into MSC or the other cruise lines as well. I just stuck to these ones now. Now, it is important for you to know that these things are changing all the time. Before you cruise, make sure you do double check with their cruise lines, but this is going to give you an overview. Now, some countries in the Caribbean or some countries that your cruise ships may dock at in the Caribbean have different requirements. If you are stopping in Bermuda, and this is for information after October 25th, 2022, you will no longer require a pre-travel test, an arrival test, or a day 4 test as well. When I say day 4 test, well, before October 25th, if you were traveling to Bermuda, if your cruise took more than 3 days to get there, you would have to have another negative antigen test to get off of the ship. Now, if you are going to Bermuda, all passengers will still have to get a travel authorization, which includes a $40 fee. Unvaccinated non-resident travelers will still be required to upload valid proof of travel health insurance to enter Bermuda. So if you're unvaccinated, you're going to Bermuda, you need to show that you've got travel insurance before you can get off the ship. Are you going to Tortola? Well, unvaccinated guests 12 and older will have to remain on board. So if you're 12 or older and you're unvaccinated, you cannot enter the country. You cannot get off the cruise ship in that port. Are you going to be going to Cartegna or Grand Turk? Well, unvaccinated passengers 18 and older will have to stay on the ship as well. So you can't get off the ship in Grand Turk or Cartegna. I'm having such a hard time saying that country. Are you stopping at Costa Rica? Well, all passengers 5 or older need to be vaccinated before they can get off the ship in Costa Rica. Unvaccinated passengers are unable to go ashore in Costa Rica as well. And Honduras? Well, everybody the age 2 or older will need to be vaccinated. Now, if you're unvaccinated and you want to get off in Honduras, well, you will need a supervised antigen test done within 48 hours of embarkation, or a PCR test done within 72 hours of embarkation. So that's sort of a general overview of what's happening in the cruise industry right now when it comes to traveling in the Caribbean by cruise ship, and the requirements for COVID, vaccination status, and for testing as well. I hope this was interesting. I hope this was informative. I hope this gave you the information you need. I do have to remind you, though, whenever traveling by cruise ships, always check their websites of what their policies are. It seems like things are changing without notice. NCL just changed their status last week, and nobody saw that coming. Things change momentarily. Who knows? An hour after I release this, things might have changed as well. And now just remember, when you're on board and you see people wearing masks, that's their personal choice. Anyway, it's going to be a good video for you to watch right here. Watch it, like it, subscribe. My name's Stuart. This is Ship to Shore Cruise News. Good talking to you. Talk to you later.